Alright, this is John Cole with OKRaw.com to have another exciting episode for you, coming at you from beautiful backyard garden here in February. And in this episode, actually, I want to talk to you guys about raw foods and why some people fail on raw foods and how not to fail on raw foods. And just one of the many reasons. I've made other videos on why people fail at raw foods previously. Put some links down below to some of those videos I've made, but this is kind of a new and different take that I had just the other day. And I want to, share this with you guys. Whether you guys are starting a raw foods diet or going to eat high raw or whatever, I don't want you guys to be one of those raw food failures. There's been so many of those over the last year or two. People that are really into raw foods, and then all of a sudden they go to carnivore or go to this diet or go to that diet. And I see some trends and I have some beliefs about why that is occurring. I don't want that to happen to you, so I will share with you guys my opinions on this matter. Now, to give you guys a history, I started eating raw foods diet in 1995. Predominantly what I eat is fruits and vegetables, fresh fruits and vegetables. More recently, I've started introducing some heat processed foods. Link down below to a video. Foods I eat that are not raw. I'm probably gonna have an updated video with a few more foods that I'm actually including these days, which include basically low calorie vegetables that are not otherwise consumed raw generally. So the first thing I will say is that raw foods can be quite dogmatic. I'm gonna just put that out there. When I got into this, one of the books that was out at the time, said at the end of every chapter was like, cooked foods is poison, like, demonizing cooked foods. Are cooked foods really that bad? Yes, absolutely. Some cooked foods, fried foods, charred foods, blackened foods, barbecued foods are completely bad, carcinogenic, and I do not recommend you guys eat those. That being said, there are ways to heat process food, so actually they're not that bad for you at all and may even improve your raw foods diet. That being said, I'm also a true believer that, the less you could heat process food, the more you can keep it raw. Like, out of my garden, my cauliflower, my broccoli, all the greens here, I will not heat process to eat those. I'm glad to eat those raw. They are delicious raw, although I will heat process some of the greens for my parents because they just simply won't eat it raw. So if you're not going to eat greens and vegetables raw, then by all means, put them in a pressure cooker. I'll put a link down below how I prepare food for my parents using my greens in a pressure cooker for them. So I do cook some stuff for them. You can learn how to do that. There are so many rules in raw foods, and depending on what expert you gravitate towards or who you listen to, there's many different dogmatic rules, like don't eat anything over 118, or is it 105, or is it 100 degrees, or whatever temperature you guys want to place on it. Now, I definitely agree that over a certain amount of temperature can kill enzymes. Enzymes are definitely an important component of the foods for many reasons, although that's not maybe my major, reason I'm eating raw at this point, although it is quite important. I mean, some other raw food dogmatism is you can't eat oil, and some other camps say you gotta only eat greens and fruit's bad for you, don't eat any fruit. Some camps say you should be a fruitarian, and you shouldn't eat any vegetables, you don't need them. Some people say you only gotta eat whole food, you should never juice your food on the raw foods diet. Some people say you shouldn't eat any nuts. There's so many different rules and all this stuff, and you could go nuts and crazy. So I really don't want you guys to be so dogmatic, but be more open to eating plant-based foods and eating a variety of fruits and vegetables. I believe this to be a lot healthier than, sticking to some of these more extreme raw food diet, whether that's extreme, lots of greens and like zero fruits, or lots of fruits with zero greens. We should have a balance in life and not be so, lopsided. One of the things I've seen is some of the people that are more lopsided over to one side, tend to not be as successful on raw foods, and I'll be explaining one of the reasons why in just a little bit. So my summary of how to eat a healthful raw food diet in like a sentence is eat 80 to 90% of your calories from fresh fruits and fresh vegetables, right? And the other 10%, other different foods, some nuts and seeds and just other foods you may be eating, right? I think that's probably one of the best things to listen to. You want to eat lots of fruits and vegetables, and in the fruits and vegetable category, you want to have a nice balance of fruits and vegetables. You don't want to just be too heavy fruits and not enough vegetables, or too heavy vegetables and not enough fruits. You want to have a good balance, whatever that means to you. And I'm not going to get in this episode to debate how much fruits to how many vegetables. Now, the other thing I will say, and that I'm really passionate about, is that I've always pretty much done on raw foods, especially since I've been growing my own, food, is eat a variety. This is critical. This is something that's not often talked about in raw foods. I've stressed eat a variety for so many years. I always constantly strive to eat new and try different kinds of foods and get those into me, because I respect that every different food on the planet has its own list of pros and cons, things that are good about it, things that are bad, and more importantly, different levels of phytonutrients and vitamins and minerals, but more importantly also different kinds of fiber that may feed my microbiome. Now, the main reason why I think people can fail at raw foods is because, maybe not because of you, but because of what's living inside you. Your microbiome, it's living on us, it's living inside of us. I mean, we're more bacteria than human, it is said. And if you're doing things, spite your microbiome and upset it too much, it will react violently. And that is one of the reasons why I believe people can fail on raw foods. I mean, here's the thing. Say you're eating McDonald's and a junk food diet your whole life, and all of a sudden you stop one day, January 1st, 2021. Maybe some of you guys did this. I'm just eating raw foods for the rest of my life, and you no longer eat any of the foods that you normally used to eat, right? Your microbiome is like flipping out if you go out with the same, group of friends for your whole life and they all listen to, rock music, and then all of a sudden one day, I'm not listening to rock music anymore, I'm gonna listen to rap. I mean, and then you listen to rap, and then basically your friends are like, who the heck is this guy, They don't want to hang out anymore because you're not doing the same thing as them anymore, That's what your microbiome does. So it's like, hey, maybe it'd be better if you slowly introduced some rap music. So, hey, listen to a lot of rock, 90% rock music. Listen to 10% rap once in a while, and your friends could accept that. And they're like, all right, well, John's listening to some rap music here and there, but he's still cool. He's still a rocker or whatever. That's just my example, And, and then they'll accept it more, and then slowly over time creep in more and more rap music. And that's what you need to do with your microbiome, right? You don't just freak out your microbiome with rap music or fresh fruits and vegetables all of a sudden when you're never used to eating those things. I mean, now you're eating kale and you never eaten it before in your entire life, right? Your microbiome's like, whoa, what's this stuff? Kale, I don't know what that is. I don't like it. Maybe you've been on a carnivore diet and then all of a sudden just trying to go vegan overnight. I don't personally think that's a good idea to do it overnight. I always encourage you guys for the longest time to go gradual. Make gradual movements so that your microbiome and your body could catch up. I mean, starting something new and different is a big shift because it's not exactly what you're doing. Our microbiome is basically, we've created our whole entire lives from the time we were breastfed and birth to everything we've eaten. It gets used to what it's used to. And when you start doing something totally different, it freaks out. So that's why, once again, if you're eating McDonald's diet and then want to go raw, don't do it just stop one day. Maybe do 50-50, maybe even 25% raw for a week or two, a month maybe. And then, and then keep upping that little by little, inching it up to get to the 100% or the 90% or the 80%, whatever you want. And then in addition, I'll have some other tips a little bit later on how to do it even more effective. So some of the tips to transition your microbiome over slowly instead of more quickly is to, not eat as many fruits and vegetables at once or in a large quantities, as compared to your old foods. In addition, I would encourage you guys to eat easier to digest foods. I mean, I will say it straight up. Fruits are easier to digest than leafy green vegetables. I mean, that's not a lie. Many people have issues with leafy green vegetables and they can't digest them. They may get gas. I don't get any gas if I eat only greens from my garden. I've been doing this a long time, 26 years. I started this in 1995. Now, if I eat some herbs or spices, definitely might get some gas. Never from my leafy green vegetables will I ever get gas. I mean, I don't remember when I did get gas from leafy green vegetables because my microbiome is built around vegetables and eating lots of vegetables. But most people are not used to eating vegetables. And my goal every day is to eat 2 pounds of vegetables. Usually one of those pounds is juiced, which 1 pound of vegetables juice turns into 1 cup or 8 ounces of juice, which is basically nothing to me. It's that's like taking a sip of juice. I drink 70 ounces of juice a day. If you want to learn what I eat in a day, check the link down below. Not to say that you should eat that especially if you're transitioning to a raw foods diet. Don't just try to eat what I'm eating. My diet has evolved over the many years I've been doing this. That being said, you can learn something from me. So what I would say is, because greens can be very difficult to digest, what's the easiest way to digest the greens? Turn them into a juice. You're removing some of the fiber in the greens, specifically the insoluble fiber that does not dissolve in water. You're going to keep the soluble fiber, and it's a much more easier way to digest it. In addition, you don't need to drink straight green juice. Be a man. I drank straight wheatgrass juice once, too much of it actually, and I vomited, but that's a different story. But you can actually juice, like, some greens and juice it with some fruits. Maybe you drink orange juice for the last, 10 years because you drink orange juice for breakfast. Great, your body is accepting of orange juice. It does a good microbiome. Your microbes are accepting of orange juice. They love orange juice. They expect your orange juice. Juice 10% kale and 10% greens with 90% oranges, So now you have like an orange green juice. And now guess what? Now you got 10% greens you didn't normally have. Maybe you could do 20%, 25% and do the rest orange juice. Great, whatever it is, We want to slowly increase the different foods. And then more importantly, aside from just doing the greens, different kinds of greens. Rotate your greens out. Don't just drink kale with orange juice every day. Hey, today do kale orange juice. Tomorrow do spinach orange juice. The next day do romaine hearts with orange juice. The next day do dandelion greens with orange juice. That's not going to taste very good. The next day do Malabar spinach with orange juice. The next day do, water spinach with orange juice. Then do bok choy and orange juice. Always just keep rotating it up, because know this: every different food you eat will cause a different microbes in your gut to either start being there, expand in numbers, and be happier. There was a study where they actually just literally fed people only juice, right? They fed them only juice. They maintained their regular diet, and their microbiome enhanced. It got a greater diversity of microbes in their gut from just drinking simply juice. So juicing can be quite beneficial. It's also very easy to digest and can positively influence your microbiome. So that's what I would suggest, is to start juicing every day. And I still juice because it is the easiest way to absorb the nutrients from especially the greens, especially because people don't chew them well. And it's also easy for me as I transition from not eating every day to eating. So the other tip I want to give you guys to transition into raw foods diet is to eat a wider variety and a smaller quantity of foods. So I know some people advocate like big mono meals of bananas or mono meals of OJ, or just live on fruit juices for 2 months while you're cleansing out. I would encourage you, or just go on a grape juice diet or grape only diet, right? That will limit your microbiome, because now you're only giving your microbiome and your microbes grapes, and the microbes in your guts that don't like the grapes or the grape juice, they ain't going to be hanging out too much longer. They're going to be going the way of the West, right? So I really want to encourage you guys to increase your diversity. Go to an Asian market. Find some of those foods that you never eaten before. If you go to Whole Foods, you always buy the same exact 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 fruits and vegetables. Seek out, hey, buy that burdock root. Buy that dandelion, root. Buy the daikon root that you never bought before. Try a new different vegetable. This will only improve your microbiome based on some of the research I've seen. The second way I think your microbiome can be completely harmed on a raw foods diet when transitioning is when you go to a restrictive raw foods diet. I mean, I touched on this a little bit earlier, but basically I personally believe that going on Banana Island, for like 30 days and only eating bananas, for 30 days, hey, might be kind of good for your digestive system to give it a break on one level, because now your body only has to digest one food. But at the flip side, nobody ever tells you that you're also reducing your microbiome, because there's only certain bacteria in your gut that are going to like the bananas and the inulin and the different properties in the bananas, right? So you're selecting for certain microbes. Same thing, whether you want to go on a grape only juice fast or grape only diet, papaya only diet, papaya island, orange juice island, go on orange juice only, based on science that is now emerging. A very restrictive diet is not as good as eating a wider variety of foods. I've seen people in the past, some of the people that have failed on raw foods, they eat a very restrictive diet, including, lots of, fruits with very, minimal variety in there. I mean, another restrictive diet could be, you know, something that was promoted a long time ago. I don't know if people still promote it, but just like all you got to do is eat bananas and date shakes, and then just eat a head of romaine every day, and you're gonna be good. Well, guess what? That you have mainly 3 ingredients you're eating on a daily basis. Yes, you're gonna get enough calories. Nutrients, well, if you eat enough of them, you could get enough of most nutrients, but you may be deficient in others. But the issue is you're not feeding your microbiome. I mean, I have 3 different kinds of red lettuce in here. In this bed, I also have, shallots. In this bed, I have at least a half a dozen different kinds of kale. You know, purple kale will probably attract different microbiome than the broccoli, than the dinosaur kale, than the curly kale over here, or the cauliflower, or the Siberian kale. So even within kales, there's many kinds of kales. And if you go to the store, you might be able to find dino kale, curly kale, and red kale. And, you know, I grow so many different more kinds of kales. Actually, I have a video. If I remember, I'll put a link down below. I think I grew like 8, 9 different kinds of kales in my garden last year that I made a video about. You know, we want to really kind of eat a diversity. So, hey, if you always get the green kale, hey, get that purple or the red kale once in a while. You know, get the dinosaur kale. You know, don't always get the dino. I like the dino a lot because it's more deeper green, maybe a little bit more nutritious. But actually, the purple kale that I'm growing, burgundy kale, is even more nutritious than the dino kale. So my third tip, so you don't fail at raw foods, is be wary of water fasting. Yes, I'll say that. Be wary of water fasting. This is the guy that sent his dad to water fast for 30 days under medical supervision at True North Health Center. I've also done like 7-day water fasts myself, you know, and what I'll say is this: water fasting has a place. For some people, it can be quite great. And in some conditions, you literally need to fast to kind of get over whatever you guys are going through at that time. But that being said, I think water fasting can be overused, especially when it's not done in a supervised manner, and especially when, you know, the longer the water fast, the better. You know, in my opinion, longer isn't always better. You could degrade your body significantly if you water fast too much, to a point of like it'd be hard to rebuild your health after that. I've met people that have done this personally, and you know, there's this dogma that's longer is better because you're cleaning out more, you're gonna get more detox. You could also be really hurting your body a lot more. You know, scientific studies have come out that show if you water fast, you literally aren't eating any food, you're only having water. So what is your microbiome gonna live on? They have to live on whatever's in your gut currently until it's all eaten, and even including your mucus that your body is making. So in studies, it shows that your microbiome under water fasting, you know, will basically reduce in the population. Some of the different species will really dominate because those are the ones that could survive with no food. Meanwhile, other microbiomes, other bacteria in your gut will basically just disappear because you're not feeding them. So, you know, it could be used for a microbiome reset. Maybe you got all bad bugs in there because you're on a carnivore diet, so it might be good, but I'd only recommend it supervised, and I'd recommend True North Health Center. Link down below to a video I did with Dr. Alan Goldhammer. That's exactly where I sent my dad under medical supervision. They will test your blood. They'll do all the tests to make sure you are not over-fasted and do damage to yourself. That is very critical if you choose to fast. That being said, unless it is warranted that you actually do a water fast, I would encourage everybody instead to do a juice feast, right? There's other YouTubers that talk about juice feasting, and juice feasting can enhance your microbiome and also help you with healing, although you're going to get different healings you would from water fasting than you would from juice fasting. But many things can be helped through just juice fasting. I mean, look at the movie Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, where Joe Cross literally like turned around his blood pressure and all these other things, lost weight and got healthier, all his blood markers that he had tested, because he was just juice fasting and giving his body a break from eating whole food, and more importantly, putting in supercharged nutrition from the juices. Now, I will say that I do sell juices for a living, but I believe that juicing is one of the most beneficial foods you guys can put in your body, because literally it concentrates especially the leafy green vegetables and vegetables. You could also juice fruits, but I'm not a big fan of juicing fruits myself. My green juice is straight greens, and people are like, why don't you add apples? Like, I don't really like sweet green juices. I like my green juice, man. Like, ugh, yeah. I might add a few apples to my root juice for sweetness and just to actually kind of give me more quantity, because, man, carrots they don't have a lot of juice in them, whereas I could get a really good extraction from some of the greens I drink. So some of the people that were like really hardcore raw vegan and doing it, you know, they water fasted and they were doing like high fruit, maybe like a lot of mono meals and like restricted fruits, because especially some times of year, you know, the winter time, like right now, you might have citrus, apples, pears, and bananas near you, and you know, I mean, you might not have too many other different, maybe some pineapples, and that's like really restrictive, you know. But if you start eating vegetables, I mean, you have lots of different vegetables you could eat, right? That's why I really like to juice my vegetables, because I could literally cram in 4 pounds of vegetables into a quart of juice, and now I'm getting a lot more calories from vegetables than my fruits. Put a link down below to a video I made, you know, basically how I eat a vegetable-based raw foods diet, which is different than most, because most people are doing like a fruit-based raw foods diet. You know, my goal is to eat more vegetables and a wider diversity of vegetables. So I'm like the vegetable guy. The last thing I'm gonna say is that some people may not like that I'm saying this, but I'm gonna say it, right? In life, there are pros and cons to everything that you do, right? Sometimes things are good. You could be doing it for a good reason, but also there's a flip side and a consequence of that as well. You know, and this is something I've enjoyed to do, and I still enjoy doing it to an extent. But it's like, limit your mono meals is what I'm gonna say, right? Hey, I love mono meals. I love taking a break and just eating a bunch of tangerines or just eating a bunch of persimmons or whatever else. But when you eat a mono meal, you know, maybe giving your digestion system a break, because you're only having to digest one food at a time, which is completely wonderful. I'm not gonna debate that. The thing is, you may be overloading on certain nutrients and not getting other ones. And the other fact is that you will be feeding your microbiome only one food, right? So instead of having a mono meal, I would encourage you guys to have a duo meal. What's a duo meal? A duo meal is having 2 compatible, very important, compatible fruits, or you know, a fruit and a vegetable, like eating oranges with some romaine or oranges with some celery, right? A duo meal. So now you're getting 2 things. You've enhanced the different kinds of foods you're eating by 100%, because you're eating 2 things that are going to feed more of your microbiome. And then more importantly, you know, switch those up. You know, today eat oranges and romaine lettuce, tomorrow eat persimmons and blueberries, and the next day have pineapple and strawberries, you know, whatever it is. But have dual meals instead of mono meals. Your microbiome will thank you, as will your body, because you're going to expand, you know, the kinds of foods that you're eating in one single meal. You know, I think mono meals are great, and for a long time I would actually do 2 mono meals of fruits a day, and then I'd just do maybe like 1 vegetable meal, and you know, I survived and I was fine. But I think that many people get really into this whole mono meal thing, and like, oh, I got all these, you know, tangerines, and I'm eating 2 meals of tangerines, or maybe even 3 meals of tangerines, and not eating anything else. Well, then your whole day is mono meals. Your whole day is basically you're on Tangerine Island, which I don't think is doing your microbiome any favors. I don't want anybody to, you know, fail at raw foods, you know, needlessly. You know, I know some people that have been on raw foods, when they get like a stool analysis, they might have, you know, SIBO and all these other messed up bacteria in their guts, and that's because they don't have a good microbiome. You know, then there's going to be an overgrowth of certain ones, and what you eat will impact your microbiome. So that's why I'm making this video for you guys, right? I really want you guys to just, you know, by making a few minor changes that I've shared with you guys in this episode, you guys don't have to fail at raw food. So I want you guys to consider your microbiome when going raw, or eating high raw, or making any dietary changes, including just going vegan for that matter, you know, and do it slowly, transition slowly, incorporate juices, incorporate a wider variety of foods, you know, have dual meals instead of mono meals, and try not to live on a banana island for any length of time. And that's just my personal opinions on that. You may have different ones, and that's all right. You know, leave your comments below. Sometimes I read them if I can, but I don't often reply to them. And, you know, I understand that everybody will have their own certain dogma or their teachings from their different, you know, teachers that they've listened to. And please know this, you know, I don't think any one person can be entirely right about anything, and that we are all different. So, I mean, although there's some, you know, good generalities and things that are, you know, basics, you know, I think people need to experiment and really find out what's going to work for them on their self, and we need to leave the dogma behind in raw foods, and, you know, kind of be more pragmatic in our approaches so that you can be more successful. So that's pretty much it for this video today. If you guys enjoyed this episode, hey, please give this video a thumbs up. Also, be sure to share this video with somebody else you guys could think it could help. Also, make sure you click that subscribe button right down below so you get notified of my new and upcoming videos. I come out every 5 to 7 days. You don't know where I'll show up or what I'll be learning on my YouTube channel. Make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as well. And finally, be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge, over 500 episodes at this time on this YouTube channel, dedicated to teach you guys how to eat the best raw foods, fruit and vegetable dominated diet in the world, with so many different interviews sharing my teachings that I've learned over the many years that I've done it. I mean, another really important video is 20 things I learned after 20 years eating raw. Link down below in the description. I would encourage you guys to watch that. I basically sum up a lot of good info in that video. So with that, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.